Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show, we're talking about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Supernatural, as well as the latest episode of Legacies. Like always, if I'm talking about something that you want to listen to, you can always look in the description down below. I include a time when I start talking about each of the respective shows. So, for example, if you don't want to hear what I say about this week's episode of Supernatural, you can skip what I had to say about this week's episode of Legacies. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is this week's episode of Supernatural. Very interesting episode. A lot of things went down. Obviously, we have the continuation of looking and trying to understand Jack's condition. Cassio tries to look him over but can't find anything wrong with him. They take him to the doctors, which I love that whole exchange of like, what's his name? Jack Klein. What's his birthday? May 18th. I'm assuming that's the day he was actually born. And so it's like, okay, yeah, 2009, I'll do the 2000. And then it's like, okay, what about his dad? Stabbed and exploded. And you have Dean turning to him looking like, why in the hell did you say that? So in the end, the doctors couldn't do anything about it because obviously his condition isn't something they could really figure out. So who do we call in? Rowena. I'm like, yeah! I love Rowena, dude. I love, like, Sam having to break it down, too. It's like, oh, okay, so I lied and said it was Dean that was sick, but it's our friend, and it's like, she's like, I thought we were behind this whole lying to each other thing, Sam. And he's like, so our friend Jack is Lucifer's son, and she's like, I'm gone. I'm like, wow, that's crazy, because to me, it's like, right, they never really did take the time to really kind of break that down, did they, about who Jack was and everything. It's like, well, obviously with her personal history of Lucifer, of course she's not going to be happy about helping him, which that's all kind of funny. Like, that's all going to, I'll circle back around to that later on. But the sad situation is, like, it is what I thought as much. Like, yeah, it's his Nephilim side. Basically, it's kind of interesting. Him being a Nephilim and, you know, being half angel, half human, it's a delicate balance. And his grace kept that balance in check. But with his grace stolen, like probably if he had enough time to maybe naturally regenerate his grace, but it was pretty much all stolen by his dad. So there's not enough around and kicking. An archangel's, like, you know, grace might be enough potentially, but it's like, well, there ain't no archangels really kicking around. But what's interesting is like what's happening with Dean throughout the episode. We see him getting a little dizzy and stuff like that. There's a part of me that started thinking like, wait, you don't think this is part of Michael's plan, do you? Like, Michael, well, I mean, I'm sure Dean is the perfect vessel, but I think an even perfect vessel would be a Nephilim. Like, if he can get Jack back to full strength, I think he's probably trying to potentially jump into Jack's body. That might be what we're aiming for. Maybe that's just me jumping the gun. It's just kind of interesting because he's kind of like, whatever it is, I'm pretty sure Michael is still in Dean. He's just buried himself so deep that no one can sense him. If Jack had his powers back fully, he'd probably be able to sense it, but no one would be able to, so. Because there's even a thing of, like, Dark Kaya being like, oh, yeah, no, I know you're not him, but it's like, no one knows, like, not unless he, like, buried his subconscious and everything deep inside of Dean, and it's, like, slowly coming to the surface, being around Jack. Maybe, I don't know. Because I'm sure having the power of a Nephilim would help a lot. Because I would assume just being as powerful as you are, but especially if you're in the body of a Nephilim, because even Nephilims have the potential to be stronger than the parents that birthed them. So a regular angel, a Nephilim would be way stronger than him. It's like, well, his dad's Lucifer, an archangel, so that meant Jack's power was. It's hard to calculate that. But he could definitely grow to be even stronger than Lucifer. And so, you know, Michael and Lucifer are kind of on kilter, on kind of borderline same power level. But it's like if he got in Jack's body, he'd be even more strong. He'd be even stronger. Jeez. So, but I kind of went off on a huge tangent, stuff like that. But I love the whole situation of Sam being like, no, he's actually a good guy. It's like, you know, I mean, you don't have to worry about it. Lucifer's dead. And she's like, yeah, and I hope he burns. And then she's talking about the fact that it would matter is the world would be better off without Jack. And Jack's there behind her. He's like, yeah, I'm still trying to we're all trying to figure out my part to play in all of this. And he's like, but Sam and Dean have talked such great things about you. And she's like, they have? She's like, yeah, you saved all of us from Apocalypse War. She's like, well, you know, I did do that. It's like she's getting all flattered, and then him coughing in front of her, she's like, oh, bollocks. And it's like she couldn't help it. So I thought that was kind of nice. I love it, Rowena playing the good guy. Obviously, she kind of got her anti-hero thing going on, I guess you want to say. But she definitely playing more on team hero. But what I really thought was kind of interesting in this episode is the fact that Jack and Dean spending so much time together. And Cassiel and Sam had an interesting conversation because Sam's like, because Cassio was like, Dean's taking this potential really hard. And Sam's like, yeah, it's because Dean blames himself more so than anything, because it's like the way he treated Jack in the beginning, even threatening to kill him and stuff like that. He's never forgiven himself for that because he sees how much of an awesome dude Jack is. And it's like, now that Jack is dying, it breaks his heart. Because even Cassio's like, it hurts, you know, losing a son. And it's like, oh, like, because I always thought of like their relationship with Jack, especially like, Dean and Sam was that kind of like a brother relationship, but I guess for Dean it's like, you know, teaching and kind of raising Jack kind of like that is kind of more like a, you know, father role. I mean, to be fair, even when it came to Sam, Dean kind of had to play a father role because their dad wasn't around a lot, so it wasn't just being a big brother, it was about being kind of a father too. So it is kind of interesting to see that, like, I think you can understand how that easily transfers over to Jack. And you even have Jack, you know, Dean teaching Jack to drive and stuff like that. And he's like, well, I'm just like you. And Dean's like, no, you're not. But he's just driving, having fun with doing the whole one arm thing. And it's like, hey, blasting the music and stuff like that. It's such a good, heartwarming moment. Even them fishing later on. And he's like, yeah, you said these were some of your happiest memories of your dad. He's like, I never actually said that. He's like, yeah, but, you know, I could tell that's what you meant. I could tell. And it's just kind of, for him, it's like this big moments, like going to like the Taj Mahal and just kind of seeing the world and stuff like that. Yeah, it'd be fine and dandy, but when the time came down to it, at the end, that the memories he would cherish the most would be the small ones, the time he spent with people, including spending it with Dean. And Dean's like, can't believe I'm the one that kind of brings out like that part of you like that, you know, Dean being who he is. But it's very heartwarming, you know, because Jack knows that there might not be a way to go around this, but then there's this dude Sergey who's a shaman. It's interesting because he knew exactly who Castiel was. At first I was like, I guess because he knows Catch and stuff like that, so obviously threw out, oh, you're Castiel. Because I was thinking like, oh, is that the reason why Castiel wanted to come along, because he knew the shaman Sergey, is that they have history or something? It's like, no. So then he gives like some archangel grace. Apparently that's how Gabriel had stayed hidden so long. And God, what was it? The place he was hiding with all the porn stars? They literally said in an episode, I'm blanking on it right now, but it's like that's how he stayed hidden, because of a spell from Sergey, and he traded his grace for it. And it's like that plus a spell. It's like, you're not charging us? It's like, the Winchesters owe me a favor. It's like, of course, okay. So that's going to come back to screw them over in some shape or form. Maybe, we'll see. Because it's like, hey, they give him the grace, they cast his spell. It's like, oh man, his powers are back a little bit, his eyes do the thing. It's like, yeah. But then he actually gets worse, because it turns out Sergey was just using that as an experiment, him just being a douchebag. And I love Castiel being like, I will find you. And he's like, yeah, you can try. And it's like, dude, I cannot wait for Castiel to find you and beat the crap out of you. You suck. Because for him, this was just more of an experimentation type of situation. It's like, if it worked, it worked. If it didn't, it didn't. Which it didn't. So it's like, okay, so now it sucks. Because even Rowena's like, honestly, all you can do is stay by his side and wait for him to die. Because there's no fixing this situation. Because even the way Sergey put it, if that situation had worked, it doesn't seem like it fully reversed the effects. It would just stop the progression. So it's like, if he had, like, it seems like even even if he got an Archangel's grace, it wouldn't be enough. It seems like there has to be other stuff at play here to even be able to save him, but it doesn't seem like that. It's like, even if like Archangel Grace wasn't enough to save him, so who knows? Then on the other side of things, you had the whole situation with Nick. He killed a priest just because the priest was like not telling him Artie's confession. Literally had him nailed up like that, throat slit, I think. It's just kind of like, man, Nick, you were obsessed with this. Because for him, it's like, as long as I'm willing to do whatever it takes if it means to find the person who killed my family. Because when it's all said and done, once I'm able to figure that out, I can let my demons go. I'll be free of all of this. And he tracks down the cop, and it turns out because it's like, yeah, it does seem like there's almost like a conspiracy in some regards, and we kind of finally find out why. The person that Artie saw leaving was a cop, but the other cops told Artie to keep his mouth shut if he doesn't want trouble, so that's why he was covering up. Because I was like, did something supernatural scare him? It was like, no, like something live, like cops scared him. But it turns out the cop who he had saw doesn't remember. Like, he got called over and he ran into some guy named Abraxas, which Nick is like, I don't know that name, but Lucifer did. So it's like, okay, what the hell is that about? And so it seems like he got possessed, and he killed Nick's family. I wonder, is that all part of Lucifer's plan? I mean, because Lucifer likes to take advantage of situations like that, so he probably sent Abraxas to kill Nick's family so that Nick will be in a state where it's like, oh yeah, you're the perfect substitute vessel till now. So, because it's just kind of interesting that he picks, it's just, you just happen to come to that guy in his hour of need, because it's like, why? Oh, because Nick was the next best vessel, because every other vessel he had burned out quickly, if I remember. Yeah, because all his vessels tend to do that if he's not in the right one. Nick lasted a longer period of time, but obviously Sam is his perfect vessel, so there's that whole situation. And so, I don't know why, this is my personal thought, but like when he ends up killing the officer, Frank, just because it's like, for him, it's like, it doesn't matter, you were possessed, so it's not your fault, but you still killed my family, so I can't let that slide. Because that was the whole thing too, of like, maybe like he's going through all of this when in actuality it was him, but it doesn't seem like it was, because even the reporter was like, yeah, we even start thinking it was you, but he was like, yeah, I was too busy getting all hammered somewhere else, so it couldn't have been me. But it's like, okay, so that's what that's about. And so, but the point I was about to make is like, I think because it was him as a human killing Frank, it made that situation even like gruesomer. It was more gruesome. I'm sure saying gruesomer. Jeez. My grammar's like on point today. But the thing is, like, because normally it's like monsters killing people and things get bloody, but he's literally bashing a dude's head. Like, you obviously you don't see it, but you see it from Nick's perspective. When it came to the whole Artie situation, we didn't see it. Side note, like, the hammer must be his favorite weapon or something. I mean, I guess he got the nails in the preacher, so it seems like he's used it every time. And it's like, do notice that it wasn't covered in blood, so that means he wiped it down. But what I thought was kind of interesting about this situation too is Nick realizing a lot about himself, because I started noticing this because I was like, oh, he started going after the girls. Like, is Lucifer still inside of you, some shape or form? It's like, no, there's, I guess, Lucifer fed on a darkness that was already there inside of him, I'm guessing. Like, to be fair, we don't really know Nick prior to this. He actually could have been like a shitty human being, but it's like, maybe being Lucifer for so long manifested something in him. And it's like, Lucifer has been a part of him for so long that it's like, not having that piece of him just makes him feel incomplete, because now he's admitting, it's like, I don't want to stop doing bad things. I want to keep going. And it seems like it's reaching out to Lucifer in the Big Empty. Because remember, like, everyone is sleeping there. It didn't even cross my mind to think, like, I keep forgetting, because that's a plot thing that was introduced back in season... Well, not last... Yeah, last season? And nothing ever really came about it other than Castiel. But it's like, the only reason why Castiel woke up is because Jack called out to him and kind of woke him up. And it's like, but they're supposed to be sleeping there, but we see Lucifer's waking up. Is it because his vessel is calling to him? Like, I think whatever, not all of Lucifer inside of Nick is going. I think part of it is reaching out to him. Now, he could get out of there, but I'm curious. I mean, to be fair, Castiel's a regular angel. Maybe an archangel will have a better luck getting out of there on their own. Because Castiel had to just kind of bargain his way out. So I'm sure, I don't know. I'm curious to see how that goes. I did like that design of just like how they're going to like represent him without his body. And it's just like a skeleton and then the eyes glow red. I mean, it's supposed to represent like the fact that he has no like body there. I mean, truth be told, is he doesn't actually have a physical. I mean, because in Castiel's case, it's like that is his body essentially, because there's no Jimmy, so that is his manifestation. So I was curious just how they were going to represent him. Of course, he wouldn't have Nick's body, considering the fact that Nick's not there. I would make that assumption. That's how. So that's why I'm thinking this is all going to be interesting, considering the fact is, it's like Rowena's talking about the whole Lucifer thing. It's like every time you think he's dead, he's not dead. So, but to be fair, Lucifer might be the key to figuring out what the hell is going on with Jack. He might be the key to fixing it. And then there's also the whole element of like, well, let's not forget there's still the Michael situation, and it's like Michael was there to help with the whole Lucifer thing, and it's like if Lucifer comes back, it also means Gabriel's there too. I mean, the Big Empty encompasses all like existence, because I was about to say like, oh, because Gabriel died in an alternate reality, Apocalypse world, but it's like, no, I think the Big Empty had talked about that, like everything, like angels and demons go there when they die. So that's why I talked about the fact that Crowley's technically in there, I think. But it's like, I'm pretty sure Gabriel's in there too, just because of that. So I don't know, it's just kind of an interesting thing. Like, I'm just curious. I just thought it was kind of interesting. thing. I mean, not unless we end up finding out more about Gabriel, like him faking his death again. I highly doubt that. I'm pretty sure he's dead for real this time. But hey, every time you think that and believe that, it ends up being not the case. So yeah, I'm very interested to find out what happens going forward. Like, also, like, what's up with Dean's situation? Is it what I thought, or is there something else going on there? Also, what about Jack's condition? Like, is there a way to fix him? It seems like that might not be. Because it's interesting because, like, I feel like Jack is the first main hero recurring character like that across multiple seasons. I'd say other than him, it'd be, like, other character that's like that. Like, because I feel like the last time we got a character like that was, like, Castiel, I feel like. And now we're seeing Jack kind of do that a little bit too, but on the other side of things, I'd probably say like Rowena, because she's been around and kicking for a while now. So I don't know, it's just kind of an interesting thought process. So I'm curious to see what they plan to do with Jack. Like, would this be the end of him, or will they find a way to save him? We'll just kind of have to wait and see. And now moving on to this week's episode of Legacies. A lot of stuff went down in this episode, so let's break it down. A big chunk of this episode is deciding Landon's fate, because, you know, him being a human at the school, they're trying to test and see if he has any supernatural aspects to him, but it doesn't seem like that is the case. What's interesting, though, is that Emma ends up pointing it out. When you look through his lineage, there was no supernatural or nothing magic related, which even she was like, that's interesting, because even normal humans would have at least some semblance of magic in their past, because, you know, at some point someone somewhere in your family had to be connected to magic, maybe like a witch or something. So there's always going to be a tiny bit of magic, but for there to not be anything, it's probably very interesting. It could be that whatever is in his veins, whatever magic that might exist, you know, because there's magic in every form of supernaturalism, isn't it? I mean, I think werewolf situation is, yeah, it's a blood thing. It's magic too, because I know vampirism is magic in this universe, but werewolfism is one too, if I remember correctly. Do let me know. It's been a while. I think it's considered magic, so there's that whole situation. But nevertheless, they're running tests, and it doesn't seem like he's any particular supernatural or whatever. While this is all going down, there's the whole thing about, like, hey, where do we go? Like, basically, they're creating representatives from each supernatural group, one from the vampires, the witches, and the werewolves, to kind of decide how things happen in the school going forward. Obviously, Emma will be kind of the advisor looking over the situation, but they kind of dictate and kind of vote in a lot of the stuff and see how people in general from each one of the groups want to go forward with a lot of things. Lizzie immediately assumed that she was going to be the one to take over and win. That's just who she is. And she's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm an influencer. People don't know what they want until I tell them what they want. So it's like, okay. It's like, I can already tell. I was like, yeah, you're going to lose. Like, I felt like Penelope was going to win, because it seemed like she was setting herself up to do that. But it turns out not to be the case. I'll dive into that in a little bit. But it's actually kind of sad, because MG was under the same impression too, because it's like, oh yeah, he's running unopposed, and for him it was all about trying to make things good with Caleb. The moment he's like, I'll bring the other vampires here and I'll tell them to follow you. I was like, the moment he said, I was like, he's gonna screw you over because you screwed him over, because even the other vampires were calling him a rat because he ratted out Caleb. To be fair, he didn't actually do that. It was actually, well, he ratted him out to Josie and the others, but never to Alaric. So I'm still curious to see how that goes forward, like how Caleb and Alaric are going to stand. That's definitely going to be interesting, because we don't really get a look at that this episode, but I'm curious to see what ends up happening beyond that. Like, Alaric wanted him to detox for human blood, because it's like, well, human blood in your veins, you're not thinking straight, you know, you're a danger to not only yourself but to everyone. So there's that. So NG ended up losing. Jed ended up being knocked off his pedestal by Raphael, because Raphael was doing whatever he could to make sure that his, Landon could stay. Because I was about to call him his brother, which, yeah, they're technically brothers, but still, just in the sense of like foster brothers, but they're not like biological brothers. That's why I was like, had to stop myself. I was like, right, to kind of correct myself in that regard. But nevertheless, it's actually kind of sweet, because this episode we kind of had Landon and Hope kind of bonding again, because it's a realization of like, she won't let her guard down because she knows people are just going to eventually let her down. Once again, it's like, what do people always do? They lied to her. She went through a lot of that with her own family, with her dad, and it's just a situation of she just doesn't want more people to let her down. So that's why, like, it already happened with Landon. She let her guard down. Boom, he lied. Everything happened. The situation they're in currently kind of is on Landon, but it seems like that's not the case. But then it's like, she's willing to kind of give him a chance because he apologizes and he understands, because he's like, growing up in a foster system, you go from one home to the home, hoping that the next one will be the home that you stay with. And eventually, after tons and tons of disappointment, eventually it becomes harder and harder to not just completely give up hope on the situation. So, to kind of make it easier between them again, he's like, I'm sorry, So she does apologize. And I like the fact is that she's kind of like, oh, I'll be a representative on the council. So there's 4 people now. 5 if you count Emma, but more so amongst the student, it's 4 because she's the only one of her kind, so obviously she has to represent her own interest at the school. And I was actually surprised. I wasn't sure how she was actually going to vote legitimately, and it turns out she votes against Landon staying because Jed ended up beating the crap out of him because of what Raphael did, beating him up. And it's like, taking over the pack and everything, which it seems like he ran away to. I'm sure they're going to bring him back. But the moment Raphael sees Jed again, he's going to beat the crap out of him, because it's like, if it wasn't for you, my brother would, like Landon would be able to stay there at the very least. Like, none of this would have happened. But at the same time, it's something Emma's like, yeah, violence begets more violence. And and Landon ended up being the one that had to suffer the consequences. But it's kind of, because he was such a dick about it, because it's like, oh yeah, because you didn't submit to your alpha first. The fact of the matter is, now you got to pay the consequences. So I'm not going to vote for Landon to stay. He's going to go. It's like, if you weren't such a dick about the whole situation, you're like, oh, it's Raphael and blah, blah, blah. If you weren't such an asshole, you wouldn't have gotten your ass kicked and your position as alpha taken from you. I kind of wish, it doesn't happen, but I wish this kind of had like the Teen Wolf thing of like, being an alpha, your eyes are red. Because I think that's such a cool thing that Teen Wolf does, where it's like the different color eyes represent different things. Like blue means something, yellow means a beta, red means alpha. That whole situation. But like no other like werewolf fiction that I'm aware of does that. So it's just like a neat thing I wish could happen, but it's fine. It's just me being stupid. Nevertheless, it's kind of a shame, but everyone kind of votes no, because it's interesting, because like, Raphael's like, I'll protect him. It's like, no, like he's literally not safe here. Yeah, everyone here, like there are some good people here, but there are other people who are like Jed, who are just like, oh, he's a human. For one, it didn't come up. It's like, let's not forget Caleb feeds on people. So who's to say he's not going to be a douchebag and kind of feed on someone again? Like that, it come up, but that's an argument you need to think about. And the fact of the matter is, there are going to be people who, just to prove their dominance, are going to like mess with him, and he has no way to really fight back. At the very least, to be fair, there's the whole Dorian and Alaric situation, but their situations are different. Their past with the supernatural has kind of let them be more trained in how to handle it. So, but I get, because he could easily be like a Jeremy or an Alaric or a Dorian, where it's like, or a Matt, where he's a human equipped to face the supernatural, But I liked what Hope had said. It's like, can we all honestly say that we're ready to take on the responsibility? Because that would come down on all 4 of us to make sure that we looked after him. Because it's not it's like all 3 supernatural groups could potentially come after him. And that's even something Alaric brought up in the beginning of like, yeah, like every one of these groups, like, some are worse than others when it comes to the whole predatory aspect of vampires, but the other groups can be just as bad. Not as bad in the trifecta of things, but they can be bad as well, especially when it comes to humans. So she votes no. And even Josie, and it's such a shame because obviously she cares about Raphael, but the thing is, like, for her, it's like, this whole situation, we don't know if, Landon's dangerous or not. And this entire situation kind of is caused by him. And the fact of the matter is, my dad and my sister could be in danger because of it. And I'm not going to put their lives in danger for anyone. So she votes no, which pisses Raphael off. Like, because I was curious to see what Josie was going to do in the end. I thought she might vote in Raphael's favor. Landon's favor, I meant to say, but you get what I mean? And it's like, I was actually kind of surprised that she chose the path that she did. The thing is, if it was Lizzie, no matter what anyone said, she would have voted with Raphael. So I guess in a sense, it kind of worked out. This is how it was supposed to be. And I'm sure, like, like Hope even admits it later on because she talks to him. Is like, yeah, I tells Landon like, yeah, I'm the one I voted no. He's like, why exactly? It's like, well, just like you would do anything to make sure everything's good for Raphael, even if it was the hard path, as long as you felt like, you know, you were doing the right thing no matter how hard it was. And she's like, you know, because you care about him. And he's like, is that your roundabout way of saying you care about me? She's like, yeah, maybe I'm a little biased. And I thought that was kind of sweet. So it is out of compassion. I even love when they ended up kissing and she's touching. He's like, ow, ow, ow. She's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. He's like, no, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. Even the little thing of like, oh, touch it and I'll know exactly where you are. And I'm like, oh, that's so cute. And he's like, just see if it works. So I thought that was kind of a pretty neat thing between them. What kind of caught me by surprise, I'm curious to see where we go for one with the whole MG and Caleb thing. Obviously, he says him and MG are good now because, like, oh, you stabbed me in the back, so I stabbed you in the back. So we're good now. You don't have to worry about it. But, you know, Caleb probably might still hold a grudge against MG. We'll see. We'll see if anything else happens beyond that. Like, but, I mean, because legitimately MG was kind of like, no, I was just trying to make things good between us, which is like, hey, you did. Now we're even, so we'll see. But what really surprised me, because all this stems from Penelope on the witch front, because she's the one that made it so everyone, she's like, oh yeah, like, to put Josie's name up to the ballot, and it's like, yo, she set that all up, and it's like, okay, so that's who you were talking about in the beginning. You weren't suggesting yourself, you were suggesting Josie, but you didn't want to let her know that you were on her side, which is like, why are you so like that? I guess because in her mind, because obviously, well, I'll go ahead and say, in her mind, I guess she feels like if Josie knows that you're on her side, she'll be kind of reluctant to kind of accept your help. Like, I guess she feels like this is the only, like, I have to go a roundabout way to help you because you won't help yourself. Because she ended up tearing into Lizzie, dude. Holy crap, it's like, you're a black hole. The fact of the matter is your sister has no love in her life. She can't really have anything outside of her life, outside of you, because you have to take everything. At no point did you even think about Josie. Did she want to run? It's like you were so focused on yourself. You're selfish. The fact of the matter is, I'm guessing she's hinting at that's why her and Josie broke up. It's because she broke up with Josie because it's like, you can't be committed to me because a person that's always going to be more important to you is always going to be Lizzie, because you need to be taken care of. You suck up in all the energy and love, and you never give any back, is what she said to Lizzie. And it's like, if, you know, Josie will never destroy your world, but I will for her. And it's like, wow. So it's like, I like that twist, because it's like, oh, so you're queen bee like that because you're looking out for Josie, because you feel like Josie doesn't stick up to herself. And we, as an audience, can even see that. She doesn't stick up for herself when it comes to Lizzie. It's just kind of like, oh, Lizzie wants something, just let it happen. Like, even the whole the Raphael situation is like, oh, like, you know, so you'll be my date for my birthday. And he's like, wait, you're blackmailing? She's like, no, I'm black tying you. And like, Josie's there. That kind of, and it kind of fits with the whole, like, oh, her and Landon kind of hook. God, I said Landon again. Her and like Josie. Sorry, I apologize. I'm all over the place. I apologize. Lizzie and Raphael hooking up like that kind of further proves it. To be fair, like, Lizzie's so caught up in her own world, she doesn't realize how Josie potentially feels about Raphael. It's kind of easily hinted at, like, oh, she has a thing for him, but she doesn't realize that. And when that eventually comes out, because I'm sure Penelope is going to point that out to her and be like, wow, look what happened there. Which is so interesting, because she's also trying to help MG hook up with Lizzie. Maybe that's the point. It's like to get them together, so she has someone else there being there, kind of her quote-unquote babysitter, her caretaker the entire time, that leaves Josie an opportunity to live her own life, potentially, is what that might be setting up. And that might be what she's angling at. Once again, this could be complete and utter BS, but it seems like she was very sincere in her speech, Penelope. So it makes you go, not unless she has underlining desires, but it seems like everything she's doing, like, it's all part of an orchestrated plan. Because she was like, some people just want to watch the world burn, and some people, I guess in her case, it's like the world she wants to see burn is Lizzie. Or maybe it is because in some sick, twisted way, she's trying to hurt both of them, because it's like, by destroying their bond, she hurts them. And it's like, you know, maybe because she feels like if she does that, you know, Josie will have no choice but to run back to her because like Josie fights how she feels. I was like, oh, you still love me, and it's like you still care about me. So like maybe there's a sick, twisted, selfish angle to her part as well, or maybe like I said, it's 100% sincere. It's hard to say at this point in time. I would have just been like, oh yeah, she's a douchebag. That's all there is to Penelope. But it's like, oh, of course they have to hit you with the layers and stuff like that. So there's that. On the other side of things, the whole situation with the Dryad. It's interesting, just a little side note that made me go, is that we had Dorian, he said he went to Bonnie for help. And I'm like, yay! There's a lot of those characters we will not see, most likely because the actors are probably off doing their own thing and probably be a lot just to bring them in just for a little bit. Unless it's like a big thing, they probably won't bother. Just like they did like the actor who plays Jeremy. So it's like, you know, just for little bits here and there, but it was like, yeah, that world is established, it exists, so we can pull those characters in whenever we really need to, or at the very least, we can name drop every once in a while. So name dropping is enough to make me go, yeah, buddy! Which I'm legitimately, I had that exact reaction when I was watching the episode. Nevertheless, basically his Dryad, this tree lady, was looking, she wanted a dagger, but she's going to help because she's looking for her love, a vampire named Oliver. He was very different from most humans. And, like, you know, her and Alaric kind of bond over the fact that they know what it is to lose people. He's lost a lot of people, including the mother of his children. But I thought it was kind of sweet him being like, but he sees, you know, Joe and their smiles and their laughs. So that kind of keeps him going. That the fact of the matter is that there isn't just, you know, all bad in his life, that there is plenty of good, too. But sadly, Oliver doesn't remember. And I thought that was an interesting twist. It's like, oh yeah, the reason why we don't remember these things actually existing is because they've been wiped from everyone's memories, which is interesting. I'm like, huh. Which I think is fascinating considering the fact it's like, okay. Because like, to be fair, well, all supernaturals can't, like the only supernaturals that can't be compelled are vampires. Which vampires can be compelled. You just need a stronger vampire like a Marcel or an original to do the compulsion, but they're the only ones that typically can't. So it's just kind of interesting. So it has to be like a spell or something that wiped every supernatural. I mean, the myths and stuff like that exist because I guess it's like some semblance of those memories were there, maybe slipping through the cracks, or maybe they were texts that, you know, it's folklore, you know, they were originally truths that were eventually passed down from folklore to tale to myths and stuff like that. To be fair, that's kind of always a thought that there's always a little bit of truth, a grain of truth in all like folklore tales and, you know, myths and stuff like that. So that's kind of interesting. That's interesting in many regards because that might explain Landon's situation. Side note, I didn't get that whole thing of like, oh yeah, the reason why he couldn't be compelled is because he can't be compelled. I was like, what? I thought it was because there was Vervain in this episode. I thought that was the whole situation. I thought like it had something to do with like Matt and stuff like that, putting Vervain and stuff. And I thought that was the point. It's like, no, it's simply because he can't be compelled. I mean, I thought, well, wasn't that the whole point of them putting him in that cell was to try and detox him from Vervain in his system or whatever, but it turns out maybe that's not the case. Well, I forgot. I'm a complete and utter idiot because, yeah, they did that, and that was the whole point, and then they still tried to compel him, but it didn't work. So it's like, of course, I don't know why I'm such an idiot. I do apologize. So that does bear the question, like, what his whole deal is. Like, he has to be a forgotten supernatural. Like, obviously, he's not, like, fast healing or superhumanly strong. At the very least, like I said, whatever semblance of magic that might exist in him, whatever he is, it might have gotten wiped away. Like, I don't know, maybe it's buried so deep inside that it just hasn't awakened, or the fact is that he is just something else out there that operates, you know, it's not something that, you know, you can, I mean, these are creatures that no one knew existed, so it's kind of like, you know, there's no way to really test it, like, oh, how do I test for you to be this mythical creature that we have no idea about other than this and that, so they know how to test for the other well, I guess all the tests were to test to see if he had any supernatural aspect to him, but it seems like no. But once again, it still plays a point of like, there are so many things out there he could be because we don't know how far the realm of supernatural goes in his universe anymore because things that were long forgotten have come back. Like the Dryad herself was talking about the fact is that this has something to do with some place known as Malivore, this dark pit, which is where she's supposed to take the knife. Like, because she had talked about the fact is the day she was supposed to meet with Oliver, something attacked her and knocked her out, and she was in this darkness where she could sense other things. I'm guessing because all the other supernatural things that were hidden all these years. Because the question is, why now? Did it start? Because whatever Landon is, it was influenced by this. Like, it seems like this knife, because it hasn't affected any other supernaturals, like no witches, hasn't affected humans or vampires or werewolves, but whatever Landon is, it has affected him specifically. So whatever this darkness is that's tapped into these other like creatures, like that's the question, like why did it attach to other things like this? I guess because they are older than every other potential supernaturals, because like, to be fair, vampires fairly not the oldest, you know, vampires, werewolves, I'm sure even witches don't go that far back. I mean, because obviously the originals go, like vampirism goes beyond even the originals, because I think Silas is technically counted as like the first vampire, right? Even though his situation is a little bit different than most, like even though it's a whole situation like technically the originals are counted as that, but that's just because what we know as a traditional vampire, because Silas is a situation on its own, stems from the originals, which all stems from Esther, a witch. So, you know, obviously no matter what, vampirism still comes from magic. It's just a situation of like, that whole situation's a little different. That's all I'm kind of saying with that. So maybe that's why, because at the time this knife has existed, which, you know, it's supposed to be something that could save her in the world, means it's probably been around for a very, 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 very long time. So, I mean, to be fair, there was the sirens. I'm completely forgetting about that. The sirens were like a new addition, because like the two sisters were like the only ones of their kinds, and then there's Cade being the psychic that he was. That was kind of a whole new breed. So I guess this was always in the making, because we slowly introduced them, but still, I guess because they're kind of so old as well. So like, I'm just trying to say that this predates a lot of the typical supernatural trifecta that we've come to know. So maybe that's why the knife only draws to them, because these particular mythical creatures that existed back then were wiped from people's memories, but were infected with this whole thing, this need to travel to Malivore or something like that. I have no idea. That's my current thought process, because we end up seeing that the symbol that the Dryad drew was the same symbol that's on Selah, Landon's mom's necklace. So also, just quick note to kind of talk about it too, it's like he's being sent to New Orleans. It's like, a friend of mine will help you. It's like, it's got to be Vincent. That's the only person I can assume. And it's like, hey, yeah, more name drops, yeah. But obviously Landon is not done, because obviously he is at the heart of all of this. So I'm very interested to see where all this takes us going forward into the next episode, what other creatures we're going to see popping up trying to get the knife, and what happens with Landon's situation exactly. I mean, since he is heading to New Orleans, will they focus on that, or will that just be something we like cut back to when stuff like really, really gets down to it? Because Vincent is going to try and help him find his mom. Granted, she never said Vincent, but I'm assuming Vincent, you know, tracking people down and stuff like that, him being witch and everything. So, like I said, we'll just have to wait and see. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.